Hello. Hello there, and welcome to the my Patreon live stream. It's great to be back with you. Thanks for joining me for this Q&A session, as well as we'll be having a chat with a few special guests. And obviously, as ever, at any point throughout the stream, it would be great if you want to leave any comments or questions. Then please do that, and we will do our best to answer them. So, as you may know, I started a Patreon page recently where you can subscribe to get access to some great content that I've created. And one of the benefits of subscribing is that you get the opportunity to join me here live on the Q&A. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce the musical power couple that is Claire and Rob Cope.
Hello,
Yes.
hello.
Yes.
So exciting.
You guys made it in. It's all working. You're here.
Yes.
Awesome. Fantastic. How are you doing? You okay?
We're doing all right.
We're doing very well.
It's all good. It's half term, so we're buzzing.
That's always good, isn't it?
Oh,
A bit
Mouthpiece
of
buzzing.
You'd be mouthpiece buzzing. That's a great link there.
How we like to spend our half term.
Yeah.
I'm so impressed. It's fantastic. So what have you guys been up to for the last month or two?
Claire's released her album in August.
I've been sitting in front of my computer emailing people and annoying them
Until
they will ask me to leave them alone. That's
pre-album is all writing tunes and arranging horn parts and booking the studio. It's all so much fun, and then you release it, and then the post-album misery is just Claire's just doing admin all the time.
Oh, really? What kind of thing?
I'm learning as I go, because I knew nothing.
And you self-released your album.
Yeah. So I self-released an album. So I didn't know anything really. I'm a complete fool.
It's hard work, isn't it?
I now have a list on my phone of like 20 things not to do the next time I do one.
Absolutely.
So it's a learning curve, but it's fun. And some people are amazing, and they get back to you straight away, and they're super interested in listening to it and chatting to you about it, and it's awesome. And sometimes it's a slog.
Absolutely.
But so that's what I've been doing.
Brilliant. And the album's called Small World, isn't it?
You are right about that.
Excellent.
You are right.
Yeah.
Where can people find it?
Go to Bandcamp, which is amazing.
It is, isn't it?
I love Bandcamp. Because not only is it obviously the most supportive platform for musicians as well, but
because we actually get a percentage of each album purchase that's respectable, as opposed to like Apple or Spotify.
Yeah.
So it's 2/3, isn't it?
I think so, something like that.
Plus we have Bandcamp Fridays every month at the moment, I think.
Yeah.
Next one is next Friday.
Yeah.
November 6th
and that's where you get all the money.
Yeah.
Yay. Exciting. I've just moved my website shop over to Bandcamp, actually.
Cool.
Oh, nice.
So I'm looking forward to seeing how many people want to buy my album from 3 years ago.
They will.
Nice.
They will.
It's all good.
But it's such a great community though as well. Like, I've talked to people on it, people leaving comments and stuff. It's really lovely. Cool. And then just how people find music related to what they've been listening to. So it's brilliant. So people should definitely go check that out if they don't know about it.
Cool. Have you found other artists, and how have you found them through Bandcamp?
So people a couple of nice people who have bought mine who I didn't know. So when people buy music on Bandcamp, you can have this little collection and then it's visible to everyone. So then you can see, oh, you bought that, so you bought that, so you bought that. And then you can have a little sample. And then they have other great stuff like articles about best new different genres.
Best new.
That's the one. That's a genre I made up.
Because we're the best category of that.
I love you.
Yeah.
It's always
number one every week.
It's always been my favorite.
There you go.
That's awesome. And so, Rob, what about you? What have you been doing?
I felt like last year I did my album and the film about Richard. So like this year's like Claire's turn. And what are you shaking your head?
No.
What?
I was nodding. Claire was shaking her head.
Yeah. She's not happy. So I am. To be honest, I've taken a lot of work that I was like, oh, it's a pandemic. I better not run out of money. I'm going to not really even knowing if I could go back to my schools or anything. So I've been doing, but then the result, when it came to like end of August and the government wrote their guidelines that visiting music teachers could go into school and teach it, then meant that I actually had too much work.
Really?
Yeah, because I'd taken extra stuff, assuming that some schools wouldn't let us back in the door again.
Yeah, it's a bit tricky at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
have you had to use a time machine or something to fit all your teaching in?
You know those time turners that Hermione has in Harry Potter?
Yeah,
exactly.
I'd like one of those. No, I feel bad because, like, in order to be fair to the schools that I've been at for a long time, I went to one for like 4 weeks and had to stop already.
Really?
Because it was just, and then they're going to be like, well, that's the most unreliable teacher we've ever had. But everywhere else will benefit from the fact that I'm not a shell of my former self each week. It's just a really hard time to get any kind of balance between work and playing.
Yeah.
Because you can't really judge what it's going to be like 1 week to the next. And we're both like, it's just the two of us here. We're both freelance. We're both self-employed. So it's like the financial pressure is a very real and not talked about enough part of us trying to be musicians, I feel like.
Yeah, definitely.
It's hard to be creative and write an album if you're worried about even if you can pay your mortgage or not.
Yeah, I totally get that. It's it's been a strange time for everyone, really, hasn't it? And I think for me, it was probably more feeling like, I mean, we were talking off air about compositional process a little bit, and you were saying that you like to write a tune in the morning of a gig, but that gig is the catalyst for you writing the music,
and I won't write without one.
Exactly.
The motivation isn't there.
Yeah, so I feel like with a lot of practice and playing, you have to find a different reason to motivate yourself. And actually, and it's really hard when you don't have the end goal, because ultimately, I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I definitely feel like I don't really play to make me happy, if that makes sense. Like, I don't get much out of practicing on my own just for the sake of it. I want to go out and try and play and make a difference for people when I'm out and about, with whatever's happening. And so it just kind of feels a little bit hollow doing all of that without a purpose, really. But you can still find happiness in your practice in some ways. And weirdly, this leads me on perfectly to talking about the Patreon page and you guys. And I've actually found that starting the page has really helped me motivate myself, because it's forced me to think about more about what I do and how I want to practice and what I want to get out of it, being more efficient, things like that. So it's it's been really good as a motivational tool for me, as well as a different outlet.
Because I feel like that it gives me structure when you get these things that are like, this is, I don't, it's only a little thing, but you just find a post that's like, here's some exercises, here's something to think about. For me, it's nice to have someone else create that structure, because there's no gigs in the diary to create any structure at all. Like you said about different ways to motivate yourself to play now. Yeah,
exactly. That's great. And I'm glad it kind of it feels like it's helping out a little bit.
Oh, definitely. And it's a really, like there's less to share in terms of gigs and stuff online, isn't there? But this is a really positive thing.
Yeah.
It's a really lovely, positive bit of energy that people can get, which I really like about it.
But also, it feels as relevant to me as a musician as it would do to my students.
Yeah.
You've struck an exceptional balance in the things that you've shared that mean that, like, I have kids I want to show this stuff to, but I find I'm really into as well.
That's good to know.
Yep.
Awesome. I thought that would be a tough one because Claire insisted that we check it out, and I was like,
"Thanks, Claire."
Yeah. And I was like, this is gonna be really interesting to see how, because I would find that to be really difficult.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I felt it's taking me a little while to figure out how to structure things and to figure out ways to make it interesting to beginners, intermediate players. I mean, you guys are pretty advanced, well-established musicians. So for me, I feel very proud that you guys want to like find it useful.
Oh, we love it. What is there not to love? I was listening to your Count Basie thing while I was eating my sandwich the other day. It's lovely.
That's very sweet.
Because what?
I know. But
we can
also
all go on Twitter and complain about all this stuff, or we can do something positive. Something.
I think as musicians, that when you start to close your mind off and think that you're done with learning, or that if you think you're above anyone else's knowledge, you're in deep trouble.
Yeah,
100%.
That's fair enough.
100%.
Maybe I just assumed that people are more motivated than me sometimes, and are just, perfectly able and content to come up with their own things all the time. So
I'm relieved to hear you say about that, because that's exactly how I feel. It's like I've always loved to play, but I don't know. It's like the motivation I have to play right now is like the flute is my third instrument, but all my most talented students are flautists. And it's like it's the best thing that's happened to me in years musically, because the drive to play every week and to push myself as hard as I can. I want to push myself to the point that they can't tell that it's not my first instrument. But the motivation actually stems entirely from teaching them. It's not from within at all.
Yeah, that makes sense. So does that put trumpet as your fourth instrument, Rob?
It makes the trumpet a real nightmare. It does. I learned as a kid, and I did a few grades. My dad used to drive me to school, and I would practice trumpet in the car every day.
In the car?
In the passenger seat while he drove. Half an hour to school, half an hour back. So I would practice only in the car. And I did a few grades, and of course the muscle memories from being a kid have stayed. But the trumpet is incredibly unforgiving physically. You can't play on muscle memory because you need physical muscle as well.
Yeah.
So but then like reading all the exercises that you have on like just mouthpiece buzzing and like basics that I don't remember that I need. Half an hour back. So
Sorry, I lost you for a second there.
That's all right.
It's weird.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking about how beneficial it is having a collection of like exercises and ideas in one place, and things where I've like maybe got some muscle memory for like which valve to press, but no actual practical experience to get any better right now.
Yeah.
Otherwise.
Yeah. Cool. Well, for me, just one other thing is, so I think there's this thing about for musicians that go to music college or whatever, is like you learn and then that's that. And of course it's not that at all, is it? So why shouldn't we share more of practice routines, practice technique? I think that's great. I love to hear how people do that. And I think that's really brilliant. And I can't imagine ever like not being interested in that at any point in my life. So
awesome.
Yeah,
that's good to know. And so I mean, I think originally it's not always easy to know exactly what you have to offer in these situations, and it started off being quite trumpet sort of specific, So as a non-trumpeter, Claire, how do you sort of see that side of things, and has there been anything that's sort of been useful for you, and is there anything that you would like to see more of that I haven't really covered?
Well, your segment on licks is great.
That's good.
I don't need to play the trumpet. That's all good.
But you can play them, can't you? You've done the licks in all 12 keys.
I've done it.
Have you done the licks in all 12 keys?
Of
Can
course I have.
Can you remember any of them off the top of your head?
There's only one.
Can you play it?
I'm going to bore everyone. Don't make me do that.
No pressure. Interesting.
Right. I did do my practice.
Good.
But it gave me a little bit of structure for that week when I was a bit like, what should I do? What should I practice? So that was cool. And then you've put some great videos up that I've enjoyed of you playing, and some like varied stuff, which was really cool. Does that count Basie one? But then there was also a what was that more contemporary thing?
Oh, was that Ear Panda?
Oh yes, that's it. Great name.
It's a terrible name.
It's brilliant.
We're going to change the name at some point.
No, don't.
No, it was a joke name because we kind of we figured out that pretty much every band seems to have an animal in it. So we're just like, well, let's think of an animal that's not in a band as far as we know, and start with pandas, and then use your ears sometimes, maybe not. But
quite Japanese.
It does sound quite Japanese.
Yeah, yeah. I like
maybe
it.
We should try and market it.
Yeah, love it over there.
Indeed, I'm sure they would.
What else?
I would enjoy.
Yes.
It might not be very easy to do without becoming very specific and alienating half the patrons you have, the supporters. But like segments of like how to actually write for the trumpet. How does this instrument work? Fundamentally, what's going to not sound good? What might you get away with on a saxophone with buttons that, like with a valve instrument, is not going to be able to pull it off?
Yeah.
You know.
That's a really great question. Anyway, I mean, we could answer that. I mean, Claire, you write for trumpet, in your band, don't you?
I just guess.
Do you guess?
Yeah, I just completely no.
But what's really great about your trumpet writing, because I played some of your trumpet parts, is that I love the way that you write with the voice as the melody, and then the horns kind of filling in underneath, kind of like BVs, but they're horns, and that just makes it really easy to play on the trumpet, because if you can kind of sing it, then you can probably play it on a trumpet. Because
this is good to know.
You're just going to run out of breath, aren't you, if you try and write for the trumpet like you would a violin or a piano. And so
that's a really good point.
I don't know whether it's something you did deliberately or just because of the fact that you're writing for voice as well, that kind of lent itself to that.
Yeah, you see.
It's funny you saying that, because Claire, now you say it, I'm like, oh my God, that's how you write. Loads of your tunes are like that.
Yeah.
Voice, melody, and two horns underneath.
I think it was a fluke.
It's a fluke, but it's perfect. It's perfect. So,
onwards. It's good to know.
Yeah. In fact, so I sort of asked before we started, probably a couple of days ago, for questions. And I think, Claire, you brought up the idea of compositional process.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know, have you written much recently in the last 6 months? Have you found it easy to write, or?
You have.
I have a few. No, I haven't. It's not a lot. I've got a few things. I don't know. Yeah, this is what I'm interested in talking to you and all people who compose. Is like that thing of when you've got stuff mingling around in your head. And I used to get quite stressed about not being able to just know how it was going to go, like immediately, and just having this idea. But then, and I've gotten a bit more relaxed about just letting it just sit and I'm gonna just leave it until something else happens in my brain.
You're singing to your voice memos so that it's stored as well.
Yeah,
I hear you doing that.
you've
got little collections of ideas.
I do.
Yeah.
That.
I've got the same actually, like a voice memo.
Yeah.
But playing more than singing. You don't want to hear that.
But you all sing them in, which I really like. They're like gestures and feelings.
Yeah. But what was I thinking? It stemmed from that thing that you put up where you'd the new melody.
Oh yeah, a contrafact on Body and Soul. Yeah,
Body and Soul.
Antibody and Soul.
Antibody and Soul. A COVID-themed title.
Wonderful.
Very proud of that.
What I was kind of wondering was, were you like, I am doing this, here's the time I'm going to compose, and this is what's going to happen? Or was it more, let's see what happens organically over this period of time? Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Did you like give yourself a frame?
Not really. So I'd been to my school and done a day's teaching, and the Billie Holiday version of Body and Soul came up on my shuffle. And I mean, I didn't have a cry on the way home, but I got very emotional listening to it.
Yeah.
And it was probably, I think it's probably related to what we were talking about with opportunities not being there and not really knowing when things are going to be played or when you're going to play again and things like that. And I just got very sad that I might not feel music in person in the way that I really felt it so strongly from that recording.
Yeah.
Hi Simon, thanks for the comment, by the way. Simon says, hope you're all keeping well and keep up the good fight. Well, we're all fighting, aren't we? We're all fighting.
Simon.
Thanks, Simon. Wishing you well as well. So yeah, I think that feeling stuck with me for a couple of days, and I just kept wanting to play that tune and kind of capture something about what I'd felt from listening to it. And then I remember there's a Joe Lovano recording where he'd written his own melody over that tune, and it's really beautiful and kind of conversational. I think the way the melody that he's written works, it doesn't sound like a song. It sounds a bit like a solo that also works as a head. And so I think I just wanted to write something like that was thematic, and I think I wrote most of it up until the bridge in one go, and then got halfway through the bridge and went, don't know what to do here, and then like went away and then finished it the next day. So that was how that kind of worked out. But yeah.
And how did that compare to just composing freely?
Well, half of it was already done because somebody else had written the chord sequence for me. So I knew, like, in terms of harmony and the feel and the atmosphere of the tune, that's already set, really. So for me, it was just a case of, can I write a melody that I'm happy with?
Yeah.
And it might still get tinkered with a bit more, but it's very different to coming up with all of that stuff off the cuff, I think.
Yeah, that's really interesting. That's a really interesting way of actually trying to write a melody. I know that's an obvious thing to say. I mean, as a separate compositional process thing.
Yeah.
Because I just love melody, so that's always how I start.
Is it?
Yeah.
Your tunes are really melodic. They are like almost kind of catchy without wanting to sound like I'm simplifying it, but they're super clear. They're like really clear tunes, which I love.
Yeah. Sometimes I do this weird test with myself, and if I have an idea, I'm like, I don't record it, and I'm like, I'll see if I remember that tomorrow.
That's so dangerous.
Yeah, it's fucking mental. And then sometimes I'm like, that might have been great. Damn it, I actually can't remember it.
Oh, that's so funny.
But it wouldn't have been. It wouldn't have been great.
You could kind of like get Rob to record it, but just don't let him play it back to you until you can remember it.
There, yes.
Oh, that's cool.
That's
a bit like what is it, like those things for kids with computer games where like you can't get into the controller until you've got the password.
Yeah.
Like password protect. That's it. A safe.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah.
You need a musical safe for your ideas.
Love it.
Yeah.
I think you should do it.
They're high enough.
That's cool. Have you written anything, Rob?
Oh my God. Yes.
I wrote something yesterday, but like you said about the motivation, we knew we were having this rehearsing, and for me, I've for a really long time now, like every pub gig, every like play we've had, whenever we're doing things that are like, you know, you're just like meeting up with a group of musicians that maybe you've played with them before, maybe you haven't. It always felt like much better value for me if I would write a tune sort of in the style, not so much of like contemporary jazz, but in the style of something that it has to be a lead sheet. So you take it to this, like if it's a pub gig or a play, it's not really relevant because it's the same rules. Can you play this instantly? Yeah. There's no time to be like instructing everyone and making it really complicated. And then it's just like, it's the only way I'll be motivated to write though, is to know I want to hear it that day and then I can take it home and see which bits of it work. So I really like to wait until quite close to the rehearsal. It sounds like madness, but then something about being like, well, it's like reflective. It's like a photo. It's just that day. I feel like that's what standards are. They're just like they're different moods. We shouldn't take them like too seriously. I don't want to play the same tune for 12 months, you know, and dissect every last detail. It's quite, so I wrote something yesterday. Cool. For years I've wrote tunes with people's names on to remind me of like who I was with or who it was for. So this one was for the harpist Tara Minton.
Awesome.
And I thought of like a few ideas of like of how I could make it reflective of like, I gave it to structure, like 2 sections, one for each of the 2 albums that she'd released, you know. So I just sort of put a framework, and I just play a few things. Mark Lockhart taught me to just improvise if you're not feeling ideas like necessarily by looking at the page. So I just record myself on voice memos and then play back a few different ideas and find the one I liked, and then actually Claire transcribed it and wrote it out. Which is
put me to work.
Well, I did your charts at the same time. So like it's more fun to do someone else's job. I'd much rather work on Claire's music than mine.
Brilliant.
But it's fun to play, and then
what was it called,
you just can't. It's called Minton Mania. I was very pleased with it, you know. But for me, I like to compose because I enjoy it, and I don't but I don't really know how it's going to go or sound until you take it out there and try it. My ears are not like, I don't know, maybe my imagination's too limited, but when I write out a melody and I write out the chords, I need to hear someone else playing it before I can really understand what I've done.
Yeah.
If it's me, it's almost like, it's just too much. Like I already know how I'm going to play it. Therefore, I don't really know if it works yet. But I do love to write.
So you write for the performance. You don't write the piece to exist for its own sake.
We're like the complete opposite.
I like to write something that's going to be played that day and maybe it'll never be played again.
Yeah.
And in that moment, it feels really special because you take something that like it's for this. I just write for fun, but Claire writes properly. You know.
She's shaking her head. Yeah, I think it's for me, it's always been discipline, and am I disciplined enough to finish something off? And I've got so many half written pieces, or like, you know, 3-bar phrases or a drum groove or something that I've just put into my phone, the same, you know, and there's so much value in finishing it, even if it's absolute rubbish. Like you get so much out of taking an idea to its completion and then doing what Rob's saying as well, and taking it out and getting some people to play it and then going, that's dreadful. I thought it was dreadful when I wrote it. It's dreadful when people play it. It's dreadful. We can put that to bed.
It's okay if it's bad.
Yeah, of course it is.
Otherwise, I'd never write anything if I kept trying to wait for it to be like the finished, perfect article.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. So I think that's really cool. Brilliant.
Do you just one more thing?
Oh,
Do you
go on.
like? Are you like I'm composing at this point, or are you just might come from improvisation, or just?
I tend to just,
you know what I mean?
I think I get inspired. That's nearly all of it. So
yeah,
quite often my pieces, if they're the ones that have made it to my band, most of them will have come out in one go.
Yeah.
Almost kind of like a fully formed thing.
Yeah.
And so, which is quite weird. And it's really fun when it happens, but it doesn't really happen often enough.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's always about fueling that. And if I'm not listening to enough music and thinking about other ideas and other things, then I won't write anything, because I just, like, for me, music doesn't just appear to me out of thin air. It will come as a sort of combination of 10 different things that I'd have listened to over those few weeks or something. And I've got a listening diary where I started trying to listen to music a bit more deliberately and actually write down compositional and some kind of improvisational aspects from the pieces that I really like, that
really cool.
that I can dip into when I'm writing something and I go, I'm so stuck. Like, what am I going to do with this form? Or like, what can I do to make this better? And I can look through my book and go, actually, they do just go into an out of time bit in the middle of this. And that might just be exactly what I need to.
You're so right. Do you know that tune that you very kindly recorded that part for? I got so annoyed with the middle bit. I was just like, I just didn't know what to do. And I was like, who do I love? I knew that I wanted this melodic idea to go somewhere else. And I was like, who do I love that does that? Pat Metheny. So I listened to.
Yes.
Yeah. And straight away I was like, oh my God. And then I really thought about, but what is he actually doing here? And then it was fine.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't fine. It's not Pat Metheny, is it? But you know what I'm saying?
It's pretty good. I think, but there's nothing wrong, I mean, with borrowing a concept.
Yeah.
It's going to help you develop your own thing. You're not stealing a phrase, or you're not stealing, and even if you are, nobody really cares, do they? So
it's a nice compliment.
Yeah, it's fun. I think it's great.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Wicked.
Nice.
Cool. Well, thank you guys. We've got a couple of questions that we could get to. That would be brilliant. So Ben, who is a wonderful trumpet player, has asked, can we see all of this?
Yeah. I see that. It looks beautiful.
Hey, Ben.
I wonder if everyone else can see it. It doesn't matter, I'm sure. Well, I'll read it out anyway. So he says, got a question. I believe the world would be a horrible place without music. Correct, Ben. So if you could only take one song or artist with you, who or what would it be? Oh, that's a big question, isn't it?
Easy.
Easy? What's it going to be?
Chris Potter, Follow the Red Line. Track 1, Train. Job done.
Very good. Wow, you've really thought about this, haven't you?
It's got everything. Melody, freedom, creativity, expression. It would be a piece of the world that I would remember forever why I learned the saxophone, why I love jazz.
That's very impressive. I don't think I can answer this quickly. I'm so sorry, Ben. Claire, have you got anything?
I'll tell you an album that's super special to me that I like. It's like gold, and when I listen to it, I like have to listen to it every now and again. Is Jeff Buckley's Hallelujah, which I just, and every time I listen to it, I hear something new and appreciate something different. That is, but then it's one thing.
So have you got a song? Is there one that you take from the album?
Oh, no, give me the whole album, please.
Okay, you can take
please.
that. I mean,
please, Ben, please.
These rules aren't hard and fast. You're okay. I think if I had to take one artist, I'd need something. I mean, I think happy music is really important because sometimes I need, like, it's good to listen to something that fits your mood when you're feeling down. But ultimately, I'd always rather be cheered up by music. And if I'm already happy, then I'm going to be even happier by listening to more happy music. So I think I'd need something that instantly just makes me be like, yeah, I'm hands down good with this. So it's going to be something that swings incredibly hard and makes me smile. So I think maybe there's a track from a Wynton Marsalis record. His dad plays 2 or 3 trio tracks on it, Ellis Marsalis, called Joe Cool's Blues. And there's these 3-minute tracks on it, and it's so swinging, it's unbelievable. And I just thought I was going to fall off my chair the first time I heard it. So I would just take that, so that every time I ever felt in the horrible place of the world without music, I'd put that track on and I would instantly be okay.
Love it.
I think so. I think
we should all go and listen to that as soon as this is.
Yeah. Do you know what? I'll try and post a link to it somewhere.
Yes, you should.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, the album's called Joe Cool's Blues, and there's like three tunes by Ellis Marsalis, and it's very, very good.
Nice choice.
Cool. Got a couple more questions, and then I think we should wrap it up, because you've got important tofu to cook, haven't you?
It's so important.
It's really important.
Can't overstate the importance.
So Christelle asks, what was the name of the platform where you can listen to music that gives the money to the musicians?
Great question.
Christelle. It's a very good question. It's called bandcamp.com, and I will send you the link to that as well. But that's quite easy to find.
They will save us all from Apple and Spotify.
Yes,
it will, which we all need saving from, don't we? Let's face it. Cool. And then Simon is back. Hi, Simon. He says, how are you structuring your day without the signposts of gigs, rehearsals, teaching that used to structure our days? Oh, great question. So are you finding it hard to generate structure?
Well, we do still have a lot of teaching.
Mm-hmm.
Without that, yes, that would be tricky. And I'm trying to be, with my practice, I'm trying to be really I'm trying to enjoy having the time to practice and be like, I'm doing this then, I'm doing this then, I'm doing this then. But yeah, around teaching. So I don't know. What about you?
Yeah, we are lucky to still be quite busy. But I feel like maybe not everyone, musicians generally, to have gotten to the point they're at, are quite motivated and quite willing to spend a lot of time on one activity. I think for me, it's just about, I like to decide at the start of the day all the things I want to do and be really boring about, I'm going to, like Claire said, I don't know, if I'm going to do an hour's practice, I would just sit at home all day. I'd be I'm going to do it, I do it straight away, 9 till 10, and then go for a walk and then watch something, I think just I would make my own structure if no one else is going to make any for me. And I love to write things down. I love to talk it through and write it down. I've quite often annoy Claire by demanding each hour of the day, what are we going to do in? Because otherwise I just waste it all.
Yeah, that's so true.
What about you?
I've been up and down, I think, with this. So at different points, I've done exactly what Rob's suggested, and actually made myself a weekly planned timetable that had all my teaching built into it. So I knew exactly where I had time and exercise and all sorts of things. And it's all kind of drifted away a little bit. But in general, I've never had so much more routine in terms of bedtimes for the last 8 months, because being a musician and gigging, as you guys know, your bedtimes can be all over the place.
But you're quite trendy as well, Freddie. Like, you play gigs, you know?
Yeah, we're not the people to be talking about this.
Oh, you're not?
No, but your bedtime routine must get absolutely ruined because you play at Ronnie's, you do late sets, you know?
I used to really struggle with that. I used to really struggle with it. And
that's a really good point.
It's been great in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
To go to bed at the same time and wake up at the same time.
It's really very healthy.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't done that for 16, 17 years probably. Mm-hmm. So Dan says, Rob, you're not trendy. Which, I mean, we can always trust Dan to come in and, deliver some home truths, can't we?
Yeah. Good work, Dan. Hey, Dan. So nice to see him here.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I'm delighted.
Keep it coming, Dan.
I'm delighted, yeah.
Keep those insults coming, mate.
We'll let Dan in. I think, you have to create your own structure, don't you? And if you don't, at the moment, I just find that I'm a floundering mess if I don't try and plan anything. And I think as a trumpet player, I've always struggled because for a long time I didn't teach. So I only started teaching in a school 5 years ago. So when I got out of college, I didn't do any school teaching or anything. So I just played absolutely every gig I could get my hands on. And it meant that I ended up playing a lot of music that is not really not really exactly what I necessarily want to be doing. But so I found that my practice would end up gearing itself towards what I had to do that week, which would actually kind of mess my chops up a little bit as a trumpet player, because actually if you spend a while focusing on like loud, short, high notes, if you have to go and do a pop gig, and then the day after that pop gig, you have to go and do a jazz gig, the chances of me being able to play softly and with really nice, smooth articulation or whatever I want to do in that band, it's quite unlikely. Yes. So it's been a bit of a learning process over the last 6 months of trying to maybe just let go a little bit of what I've always practiced to try and keep all these different areas up, and actually really trying to find a way to focus on what I really want to do as a musician.
Yeah.
And I've never really had the time or the luxury to do that, but with teaching being the main income, actually I can just play what I want.
Yeah.
And that's been quite liberating in a lot of ways. But
it's a hard pressure, isn't it? If you just try and play for a living, because you do have to take everything.
Yeah, exactly. It's cool. And in fact, I think I've got one more question that is, it's a little bit trumpety. So I hope you don't mind me.
Don't worry, I'll field this one.
Answering this, Rob. I mean, you're probably the perfect person to ask. Oh gosh, my laptop is absolutely dying under all of this.
The weight of the questions.
Oh, the questions are just killing it. So Andrew has asked, has this come up? How do you control any nerves you may have for a performance? It's a really, really good question, Andrew. I think personally, nerves go one of two ways for me. So it's either like excited nerves, which will probably lead to me maybe having more fun and more of an enjoyable gig, or like unprepared nerves when I just feel like I'm either not. When we're talking about getting your chops in for different kinds of gigs, if I feel unprepared, then I'll be more nervous. I don't know how you guys have found that side of things, performance anxiety.
Yeah, that's a big one. Your I've always admired this about Rob. He's
I focus on how many hours of practice I've done and for how many years I've done it.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm like, the last time I was nervous on a gig would probably have been like the London City Big Band, you know, and everyone in the band knows the charts, they play them every month, and I go in there for the first time, and people are like, they want you to kind of do a good job and not screw it up, and not like make it sound scrappy by placing quavers in the wrong place when everyone else has got them in the right place. And I just sit and I look at the pad and I think, well, spent my whole life practicing for this, you know, and I think about the years of big bands and the years of like, you know, and I just try and like, I just remind myself that like you said, I would be afraid and I'd be nervous if I'd taken a gig that I was hopelessly ill-equipped to ever succeed at. You know, but when you're like, if you try and only agree to things that are gonna be for instance, I won't take a trumpet gig because I'd be murdered. You know, like, but if I'm like, I'm playing sax and like I'm nervous, but I've also got the reassurance of my own hard work. So if I'm feeling nervous before something, I'm just going to practice my way through those feelings.
Yeah, that's great. I think
it's like a muscle, isn't it? It's like, you know, you work at it, and because Andrew, it's something I've struggled with a lot in my life. So it's a great question. And it's something you really have to persevere with, actually. And also, I don't know, for me, I do not perform that regularly, so I cannot speak like these guys can, but I just listen. Like, as soon as I feel nervous and anxious, I'm like, just listen, just start, and I just listen. I can't, like, someone said it to me once at college and it stayed with me forever.
Like musically in the band, you mean?
Yes. And it was actually this person said it to me when I was doing this classical trio thing. And she was like, I just really focus and listen. And it's just stayed with me forever, that I just try and only focus on that, only the music.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
That's what nerves are, isn't it? It's you worrying about it.
Yeah.
Well, there's the nervous energy that's great, that's completely brilliant and necessary, and then there's that nervous anxiety that's like that little thing inside of you saying mean things to yourself, or worrying about what that guy over there thinks about something you just, and you know, so, and if you're zoning out of that, then that's when it's probably going to be okay.
That's really cool. So he said that he tightens his lips up when going for high notes because of the nerve.
Yeah.
Man, I totally get that. I do that. I think, tension. So it's like getting tense, and you're holding all of that anxiety about whether you can do something or not in your body, rather than, like Rob said, relying on all of that practice and all that preparation you've done. So I've always found that people will hold that tension in different places when they play. Like, some people, it goes up into their shoulders and they get like really like tense up here, and you can see it, and that all has a different effect on the way that you play. And so you'll probably just have like one place where you direct tension when you are nervous about a note or a particular thing that you have to play. And I feel like trumpet players will either do it with our lips, so we'll squeeze too hard, or you get all tight in the throat and you kind of squeeze up here, or you just don't breathe properly. And so either taking in way too much air than you need to play a high note, or not taking enough. So I've found in those situations when I have to play something that I mean, it's out of my comfort zone. If it's a note that I'm, you know, not going to be 100% like, oh, I play this every time without any problems, then for me, I just have to focus on standing. Like, actually, I focus on my feet, and I focus on staying grounded and then that helps me to breathe better. And then I try to hear what I'm playing.
Yep.
Because I find as soon as I get into that tense, anxiety strewn moment of, oh my goodness, am I going to make this? You're thinking about all of that, and like you're saying, Claire, you're not thinking about the music, and you're not listening or hearing it.
Yeah.
And weirdly, I've played like probably a fifth or a sixth higher in jazz solos than I can often do when I'm reading, because I just decide to play a note.
Yeah.
And I hear it, and there's nothing in my mind that's going, you can't do this. There's just like the picture of the note, and it's like, there it is, you know. And it's not something that I've practiced particularly, but it is really interesting how important the brain and important the psychology of playing.
Yeah.
And I've had more success with playing higher notes that I'm reading when I look at the phrase and then ignore the sheet music and try and play it like I'm improvising the line.
Yeah. That's really interesting. I like that.
Trying to really, really hear what I'm playing, even though I'm reading it.
Yeah.
But that's the thing with the trumpet, is it's super psychological, and playing those notes is a bit like darts, isn't it? It's like trying to get a tiny little dart into a board that's even further away than you think it is. So you're like, it's all in the mind, really. But that's an easy way to get out of saying it, isn't it? But I hope those things are useful.
There's a great book, Andrew, maybe you already know about it, called The Inner Game of Tennis, and then there's The Inner Game of Music, which I really enjoyed. I don't know.
I preferred the tennis book, actually.
Yeah, I read that first. I think it was a long time ago.
Apart from the sexist story bit, which definitely should have been edited out by now, but it's really weird. Anyway, probably
maybe you already know about that, but cool, you could check that out.
Yeah.
Can I say one more thing about the performance nerves, about you saying about the trumpet? And I think everything you've said points to being aware of your tendencies when you're nervous. And then it's you just have to practice it. You have to play nervous in order to understand how you're going to react to it. And it's not always going to be perfect. And it's fine if it's not. You're still going to be alive. Everyone's still going to want to play with you and hang out with you, go off stage. Just think about it later. Like, man, if I'm really feeling it, this is going to happen. Because then when you know it's going to happen, you can do everything you can to try and work against it.
Yeah, the world isn't going to end if you miss it. That's also quite a useful point. He's going to check the book out. Awesome. Thanks, Andrew. I'm really glad that helps. You're top man.
Yeah, great question.
It is a great question. Claire, Rob, it's been an absolute pleasure to chat to you. Thank you so much for coming on.
It's been a pleasure, Freddie. Thanks for having us.
It's been wonderful.
You guys are superstars. It's brilliant. And I hope.
Sorry, trumpeters, that we don't know anything.
That's all right.
Sorry.
Brilliant. Well, hopefully we'll get you back on another time. And
love it.
Best of luck with your endeavors and ventures, and
you
go and anybody that's watching, go and buy Claire's and Rob's albums.
Oh yeah.
Rob, is yours on Bandcamp as well?
No.
Rob, what are you doing?
Don't ask me why. Oh no, no, I don't think it is.
We've got 3 boxes upstairs. We can post them.
We've got that everywhere. Even this album came out last year, and today Claire was like, "Why are those albums? Why are they in my way?" But there's just so many.
Yeah, I know. It's hard work, isn't it?
Yeah.
But anyway, guys, thank you so much. Hopefully we'll see you all soon.
Great.
Bye, everyone.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.